No, that's Diaz.
And that's Sasha.
And we're live at Adobe Radio. We are here on Monday during Pride Month. We have chances for we have second chances for good things to happen, and I would love for you to buy our merch
At coolnerdweedshow.bigcartel.com.
Go there, Google us. We have video on YouTube. We are still active on social media, even though we get shadow banned.
Yeah, just Cool Nerd Weed Show. You have to type it in exactly.
Yes. Do you?
Yeah.
We are very adamant that we are not changing our name ever.
We'll die on that hill.
We will. We will die. We will die on that hill. We previously have spoken about me taking 3 edibles before the show, and I was braggadocious, if not a little too confident that 3 edibles would be no big deal, and they're not. I'm fine. I feel like you should have taken an edible though.
Well, maybe I will. I feel great.
We
smoked before.
We did. We smoked 2 joints.
And yeah, I'm good. Maybe I will have an edible.
Yeah, grab them. They're in my bag. I'm just gonna get it for you.
I want to take a wireless mic with
me. Yeah, they're in my backpack. They're the Smokies. Smokies are really good. I haven't had them in a long time. We'll talk about this, but products have been spotty certain places at your local California dispensary.
I love a Smokies.
Yeah, they're delicious. I feel like I haven't seen them in a long time.
Something happened over there too, but
for real?
Yeah, it's still the same product. The Smokies dude was the owner was very cool.
Yeah, they were always like really solid, and it's delicious. See, there you go.
That's delicious. Would you like another one?
I don't know. Maybe I'll wait until we get past this first segment. And we'll see how it goes. So we used to, when we started this show 6 years ago.
Yeah, at least 6 years ago.
At least 6 years ago, maybe 6.5 years ago. We used to do like a local segment because we're here in LA and weed is popping here. Well, it used to be. But California used to be the biggest seller of weed. We had a bustling weed industry, as you know, probably. And it was medicinal first here and all that good jazzercise. And then things got crazy when it started to get legalized. And we stopped doing local news because I think like we were repeating ourselves a lot. And there was just a lot of stuff that was happening, like multi-state operators coming in and bumming us out, and all our friends were not getting jobs, and it was just like it was a weird landscape for a while here in LA, so we let it lie. But we have started to do local news again, and just today these articles are telling us that the weed market in California is crashing. It's done for. It's over. It's kaput.
Well, it is in decline, and it has been.
It's just unbelievable to me.
It is. It's not going away by any means. And right now, California apparently is losing to Michigan as the number 1.
That's pretty crazy.
Weed.
They've been
cannabis
on our tail,
consumer. They have been for a long time.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying good things about Detroit, I guess. I don't know.
I don't not believe it, I guess. I could see that. I'll believe it when I see it. But I always say, California weed, in my experience, has always just been unparalleled. And I've been to a lot of places and smoked a lot of weeds. And I've always loved and have a soft spot for California weed. And it's not just because I worked in the industry. But, yeah, basically, why don't you explain it really good with like one of the reasons why you think it kind of went this way. Like I was saying, it's kind of like basically the equivalent of printing money because we had so much weed.
Well, yeah,
to provide.
California's been growing cannabis for a long time, and then once adult use was voted in,
yeah,
California, all of the big companies started rushing in and growing. They started buying up huge plots of land.
Yeah,
they started manipulating local ordinances and regulations so that they could have more plots and have bigger farms.
Yes, a lot of it was.
They've grown.
It was overwhelming. The companies. I mean, they really.
These companies are growing hundreds of pounds like a month.
Yeah.
Or more, like.
Yeah. So there was so much weed. They would come and kind of like oversaturate the market.
Oh, yeah, they would. These companies with very deep pockets.
Yes.
Multi-state operators, huge money would come in and they would just, dump all their products in a shop, any shop that would take them. They would leave them with, they'd give you terms.
Terms is crazy to me. Like that concept. That like 30
days.
I just
90,
feel like
90 days.
Oh my God, 90 days without of course it's like any sort of debt or credit or anything like that. Like it's gonna, if you can do that, you're just gonna do it until it bursts and then deal with it then, which is what I feel like happened with a lot of these. Yeah.
Then, the burden with the tax burden being on the manufacturer and the distribution, you need to collect that tax. You need to collect that money and pay it forward to the government.
Right.
And when the shops don't pay, that money there's just no money. And the money doesn't get paid forward to the government.
And shops don't have any money. They're too busy trying to keep their licenses and pay for their licenses and,
keep
sell
the
their
lights
product
on.
And keep the lights on and pay their employees. So coming and collecting, you don't have any luck there, which is why so many shops turn over ownership as well. So yeah, I said I can't see California having a failing weed market, but I can obviously once we break it down. It's just such a crazy concept that it went down this way.
So much money came in so fast, and so much was grown, and so many people opened up shops. So many companies came in, totally saturated the market. There were so many, once the first round of licenses was given out to the medical cannabis operators that were in good standing, received their licenses and were operating. Then the next round, and we're into the third and fourth round of licensing now. So, you saw them; they were popping up everywhere.
Right,
big, beautiful Apple stores of weed were popping up.
Yeah, there was a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of concept lifestyle.
The lifestyle, they were trying to sell the lifestyle. It was everything was a lifestyle brand. All of the lifestyles. Where are those people now? I think the lifestyle people don't really consume the way that they had anticipated. Well, the hardcore people that just love cannabis and are into the culture and the flower.
I don't know. You think so? Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. I was trying to think about
when you see an influencer talking about gummies and they call them when they're I love these Rosen gummies. And you're that okay.
Well, I think there's there's a lot of contributing factors to this. And now that we're speaking about it, I am thinking, and before the show, we were talking about because I was wondering because another contributing factor to the bad market obviously is now there's declining weed sales, and it's crazy because you're what do you mean? It's more popular than ever. But also I wondered to myself and to you, if younger consumers with like disposable income or whatever, if they are consuming as much weed. And I wonder too, like you said, influencers, like you can't smoke weed on a lot of these platforms or you'll get demonetized. So maybe like that's partially why, is because like a lot of what young people do, like I feel like young people don't consume, but they smoke more weed than they do drink. This is true.
Yeah, the younger, there's definitely statistics that like the younger, with like Gen Z crowd and even.
But are the young folks going to the dispensary, or are they just getting it where they get it?
Okay, so I've seen a few like 21-year-olds come through recently, and they just were like, I just got it where I got it. They were really happy to be in a shop for the first time.
Right.
But they were just like, my homie's the plug. I get my
Right.
vapes from the homie.
Right.
And a lot of
So
people.
So there still is black market, obviously. That's
For sure.
Another contributing factor to bad weed sales here.
Yeah, that's it. It's what is one reason. Like there's flyers all over every car in the neighborhood that said like crazy old school deals.
Whoa, the state was owed approximately $732 million in overdue cannabis taxes.
Yeah,
What the friggin' heck? That's so
because
many.
People don't pay their bills, and
I
then
know
they
that's
can't.
that. You've been telling me this for a long time, and I've been listening. But I've been listening, and that's I think more and more it's been alarming to me as you've been telling me this for the last couple years, that this is true. Because my thing was always like, because weed is everywhere, I just had faith that like the California market, if anybody can come back from some bullshit, I thought it would be able to be California. Because greed and big companies and illicit market and not paying your bills, but also being a little bit irresponsible with your product. I mean, we were talking about it before, like before in Prop 215, the process, like terms weren't, you just throw a bunch of weed at the buyer and be like, see you in 90 days, maybe. Right? Like, so they left with cash usually.
Yeah, it was a lot more COD and, maybe short terms with a lot of trust, a trusted
But that was built
partner.
too.
Trust was built, and you can't. These large companies dropped all of their product onto people who they had zero relationship with.
Right. You don't know if they're going to pay their bills.
You don't know these people are going to pay or not.
So like the rep just comes in and is like, okay, I'll sell you, $2,000 of this shit on terms. And then you're like, oh, well, I need 2,000 jars of this shit. So
yeah, you
all
remember
right.
We just like one, for example, was like Cresco. We started seeing Cresco concentrates everywhere, and they were undercutting the market, and they were like giving it to you on mad terms. And even somebody even told me, they're like, oh, they don't even care if we really pay. I was like, oh, that's some interesting news coming from a bud tender. Thank you. Thank you for that little tidbit. I won't talk about it to anybody.
Except for the whole world. Yeah, that's a weird way to do business.
It is. But kind of going through like a little bit of, there's the initial boom. Mm-hmm. Everybody was coming in from all over Colorado and Washington, and then we were kind of chugging along the cannabis industry, and then 2020 happened.
It did.
We all remember what happened.
Yeah, that was
a fun time.
2020, nothing remarkable.
So we're all sheltering in place, and
this is interesting to me too. Sorry to cut you off. I want you to finish this because you said it good before the show. This is interesting to me too, because during this time, it had only been a little bit of time before or after adult use in California, and weed was really entering the mainstream, and like everything, Vice had a bunch of weed shit, like everything was weed. So it was like definitely entering the mainstream.
CNN was like doing Dr.
Sanjay Gupta was all over the goddamn place, and we were feeling fine. There were some weird parts at that time because it was a couple years in, Like people were getting laid off, people didn't have jobs before the pandemic. And then things hit and it got scary for a minute because you were like, well, what do we do? We're a dispensary. And then they were necessary workers, and then they were delivery services. So weed was extremely accessible. Sorry, I feel like I said all the things you were going to say. But I found that to be really interesting because I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, in 2020, like suddenly cannabis had this push before, but then suddenly we all in the cannabis industry are necessary workers. And here's one thing. Everybody is suddenly flush with government cash. Everybody's got a B of A card because everybody was unemployed.
Yeah, everybody got that little bit of relief money.
Got the those stimmies.
Stimmy!
And
I didn't get a stimmy. Oh, I did get a stimmy. Actually, yes, the stimmies came in.
The stimmies came in. Everybody was on EBT. We were getting free food.
Yeah.
So
that government cheddar.
Yeah, but we would take debits, and those debits were coming in every day. You'd see them. I mean,
yeah, it's literally printing money.
Everybody was home. There was nothing to do but
stimulate the weed economy.
And that's what happened. It was booming.
And it really was. Weed sales were fucking bananas that year of the pandemic. They were high. It was crazy how accessible it was and how much it was popping up everywhere. It surely wasn't. It's weird because it was so much around us that I kept forgetting it was illegal everywhere else. Honestly, as an adult, I would go other places and be like, "Oh my god, yeah, like I shouldn't be so fucking loud with my, because it was so everywhere here." So naturally, like the pandemic ends, thank God. Everybody starts to go back to work. They're not at home to consume. I was going through a lot. I mean, we were also. I'm gonna stony sidebar here, but like we were also talking about like the level of stoner now as a contributing factor as opposed to back in the day. Like there's like an us or a me.
Yeah,
I think we were pretty equal.
Yeah, there's like.
There's us.
When I'm talking to people, they're like there's the old heads like us,
right.
And then,
yeah, and then there's a casual smoker who smokes in social sitches,
and then there's the curious,
I'm not sure if there's an in between there, but I don't think there is. I think there's a big gap from people who consume like we do and people of the post-adult use world. And I could be wrong. I don't know. But I do feel like there's a difference and they don't consume as much weed.
Not the first time consumer comes in, gets a few little microdose edibles. Maybe
the microdosing.
Maybe a pack of pre-rolls.
Yeah,
and,
totally. I'm down.
And then we may never see them again.
Sure.
They may come back in like a month.
Yeah, I just feel.
Or.
Because man, and so that goes to my point of during the pandemic. I mean, and I'm not saying anything is better or worse. I do wish the weed economy wasn't falling here, and we do know that the younger generation again smokes more weed than they do drink. So you said like the vapes are being sold, but not at clearly not at an amount that makes up for.
Flower is still number one, but vapes are like very close. So a lot of vapes, and I feel like it is it's generational.
Yes. Well, vaping is
the digital. We are in the digital age.
Yeah, and I remember when vaping came about. Like I thought it was pretty cool too. What was your advice to anybody who's starting in the weed
business? My advice was don't start a vape company.
Yeah, so again, oversaturation of a market. So many vapes at one point.
Completely oversaturated the vape. The vape market is crazy.
It's one of these people compare it to the .com crash of 2001, 2002.
Oh,
I'm sure we remember that.
For sure.
That shit was crazy and made no sense to my young brains. But when you see it happen a couple times in different industries, you're like, ah, shit, like that sucks. Because it, was fun to be riding high. But now there's other stuff to be navigated. That's not even getting to like the quality of weed and stuff we used to really focus on.
That's not. Yeah, this is just like that's a whole nother like
which always
show.
It always like creeps into my narrative because I'm just like, that still matters to you guys. Like it's not.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Sure, we have all day.
The quality of cannabis that came out during mass production and mass commercialization was just it's awful.
Oh my God, it was mids after mids after mids, and we're not saying that as like bougie. Well, we are a little bougie, but we are saying we are also I come from a place of smoking not great weed when you need to, for sure. I mean, I like North New Jersey. Like, what kind of great weed am I getting there? So, like, I'm not too good for it. But the weed that was coming out during this big bubble,
this green rush renaissance,
horrendous weed, fucking garbaggio. And people would find better weed in the illicit market. Who knows what the fuck it was, though? Which like. It was just on principles for me and you, I think. Like, we were just like, we worked all hard for this. Yeah. We didn't even get it the way we wanted to get it. It's been a pain in the ass, so we might as well stimulate it.
We still support the legal market. We still do. Absolutely.
We still do. And get your bags, make your papers, but we are advocates for the legal market, and we will stand by that. So it was really sad to see all the fucking mids that were $55 before tax or some shit keep coming in. And then like we started calling it hyphy because it was that hyphy, and we don't really go to the sessions out here. We never did. Well, I never did, really. Sometimes we would, but not a lot.
Yeah. I worked a couple.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a few, but not as many as like. I mean, there's people who like went every week.
Oh yeah, there's hardcore. They're still happening.
I know, and we didn't do them then. We're not doing them.
We're not going to go now.
But I reckon you can probably get some
fire
small batch weed there, and I know, and this is just California too. Like, forget even anywhere else, but. That is still bustling. So that of course will hurt the legal weed market. But then again, can you really say that the weed market is falling if it's still popping underground? You could say the legal weed market.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to... Cannabis is not going away by any stretch.
Yeah, it's just on record.
It's just on legal cannabis is in decline right now. I mean, there's a lot of things that would help out that we've talked about. It's like, reducing some of the taxes would help.
Yes, making it easier to open a weed business would help. I don't think it's great to have a couple big companies running a huge industry, even though that's #this is America. So shrug. I don't know. I'm not like, I wish I was better versed in a solution, because complaining about a falling weed market is a bummer. It just does seem like there was a level of greed and snatching up that, and then we got handed the pandemic. What a great time for weed. And that's just true. People, smoked a lot of weed back then, and like when you said that before the show, I was like, oh, makes so much sense why nobody's smoking weed anymore. And also the kids who grew up through the pandemic. They were kids, and their mom smoked weed. Probably still smokes weed, but they do not yet. And I find that to be interesting. Not all the kids, obviously. Many kids don't smoke weed if you're a kid. But you know what I mean? Like the young people, the Gen Zs.
Yes.
I suppose is what I mean. And I do think they're down with it, like the chill. But a lot of them, I feel like, And if we're wrong, I mean, listen, I probably sound like an idiot, so you can always DM us, Cool Nerd Beat Show. We're up for the convo.
With like anything like generationally, you're probably everybody's doing it. So they're like if my parents were smoking weed, I probably would have thought it's not cool and not done it. You know what I mean?
That's true too.
Like,
I guess I didn't even think of that.
Like,
Weed is so cool to me that like
I'm like, oh man, my parents are like stoned all the time. They're just laughing and they're being idiots. And then I'd be like,
talking about me. It was only 30 milligrams.
Nah, this is like teenage TS.
Yes. Yeah, like you'd be like, you're so lame,
you guys are so
Mom.
lame.
It wasn't even funny.
And she'd be like, whatever.
Why are you eating so many Doritos, Mom?
So then, then you grow up thinking it's not cool and you don't even want to participate.
That could be a contributing factor.
I mean, because that's how I kind
of
felt about alcohol. In the earlier days.
Yeah, I guess I could say the same. I never did think. Yeah, I guess I thought. So you saw your parents like drinking alcohol, and you're like, "That's why."
Yeah, and like some of my friends, I'm like, "You guys look like idiots."
I kind of did the same thing. I did the same thing. I was like, "What are you fucking sick for?"
Yeah,
because you drank a thing on purpose.
Oh, you're
acting foolish.
You're so cool. You drank a whole 2 liter.
Good for you.
2 liter bottle of Bartles and James wine coolers, and now you're barfing in the backyard.
Yeah, they used to do these things in my high school, like where we'd have a delayed opening. Like I don't remember why. Maybe teachers were all like fucking or something. I don't know. I don't know why we did it. I don't know if your high school did it, but we'd have like 2 days out of the year that we would go in at like 11:30 and stuff, and like. That's when all the students would get
up to
wasted.
Their own devices.
Yeah, they would go to whoever's house was closest. I never participated in this. I just know because I hung out with the kids who did, and they would tell me about it. And I was like, that does sound terrible. I was like, that doesn't sound fun at all. It sounded like everybody was barfing. Everybody was crying for some reason because I guess kids aren't supposed to drink poison. And then you came to school and you did a whole day of school? No, thanks. I will just go home and watch Friday Night TV. I was very happy as a sober person, but not even because, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it is like a whole, like, because the older people than us did it, we thought it was kind of whack. I don't know. I think I was always just really scared of weed. That was really what I faced growing up. I was scared that it would make me, I mean, before I knew.
Well,
before
yeah,
I was a
there was
conscious person. I was like, oh God, it's going to kill me.
There was all that DARE program bullshit happening.
Yeah, that was pretty early on. And my mom, and I'll never stop telling the story, but it was really important for my dad to keep his job. So we couldn't smoke weed. She couldn't smoke weed. She had to stop. Then there was no more weed in the house. So testing for weed was why weed was demonized in my life. And I'm really glad and grateful that, because California, right, like the employers aren't, they don't like, you don't.
Oh yeah, you can't get tested.
Yeah.
For most jobs
That's
right
titties.
now.
That's free titties.
Yeah.
So California, I would love for you to get your shit together. I would truly love it. I truly love the taxes to be lower. That was like a rumor for a second, right? Out here, it was like, oh, they're gonna be lower.
Yeah,
they're gonna. It went anywhere.
Yeah, it did not. They're gonna drop it a little bit. Nope.
Butts.
Everybody pay your fucking bills. That would help.
But also, like, I have to say, I feel like it's like, just think about a credit card. Think about when you were like, yeah, I have a fucking $10,000 credit line. Give me a dog. Give me a fucking all the groceries. Like, I will live like a king on this magic money that doesn't exist. And then all of a sudden you have to pay. And then all of a sudden there's interest. And then all of a sudden you're young in a lot of debt. I was part of the credit card generation.
Yeah.
So, I'm not no Gen X cash only kind of bitch. I was built on credit. And if somebody's coming to me being like, here's all this weed for free, I'll come back if I remember. But enjoy. And then when the tax man comes to the vendors are like, oh, remember that money that like you owed me? 100 billion days ago for that product that I
It's
gave you months ago.
long gone.
Like we're talking last year. Like I would like that, please. And the poor fucking store is like, oh, no. And then all sorts of lawsuits and all sorts of extra money is spent on the money that's being collected. So there's more debt being accrued. It's not easy, I think, for anybody out here. And I also, everybody got greedy, but I don't know. If somebody knocks on your door and says, I have free pizza, what are you going to say? You take the fucking pizza.
Yeah, I'll take a slice or two or a whole pie. I'll take the whole pie.
Yeah. Yeah. The great Keanu Reeves. I'll take the whole pie. Give me the goddamn thing. So what are we going to do? Are we all going to die? Is there going to be no more weed? I'd like to end this segment with like a positive note.
Okay. Only the strongest of cannabis retailers, cultivators, and manufacturers are going to survive this.
That's not positive.
You need to have a stomach and a heart for this business.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
As a casual consumer, I'm sure you don't know this. But this is why you listen to the nerds and they pay us the big bucks, is because we don't lie to you. And this article was disheartening. And, you scroll down a little bit, see the the sandwich board picture that they're using. And it's your best friend's dispensary that he works at.
It really hit home.
You were like, they use green. I was like, no. And like, I feel like there's a good example. I think your shop is a good example of like a shop that I wish would survive this. There's certain shops around that have been around that are really like, that's why I try not to blame the storefronts as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, failure is not an option.
No.
Place
and
has been there since 2006. So
yeah, man. Like the market can't and shouldn't shake that sort of foundation, and I hope that it doesn't. It sounds fucking mad bleak, but hopefully, I don't know, man. I'll keep buying legal weed.
Yeah, that's like, it's the only thing that's going to help because the illicit market is still thriving. So if you can,
support your local shop.
Please support your legal cannabis. Thank you for listening.
I mean, we have more show. We have like 20 minutes more of a show. So we're going to take a quick break. And we're back.
We're back.
It's Cool Nerd Weed Show. That's Yes.
And that's Sasha.
And we are on iDobie Radio. Thank you, iDobie, for being the best in the whole wide world. Everything iDobie is the best. Go to iDobie.com and check it all out. Find us, Cool Nerd Weed Show, anywhere. Google us exactly, Cool Nerd Weed Show. No, the Cool Nerd Weed Show or just Cool Nerd Weed Show. It doesn't matter.
It's actually both.
Okay, both. You could do both and you'll find us. It's just the easiest to do it that way. We're on YouTube, we're on platforms, and first and foremost, we're on iDobie. So it is Pride Month. If you're listening to this in the month of June, that is Pride Month. If you're listening to this in the future, this was Pride Month. If you're listening to this in the past, that's pretty cool. So right now in this moment in time, it is Pride Month. Happy Pride. I like to say I hope you are honoring your heart and you are making safe spaces for those around you. Pride is an activist month, first and foremost. It is a month that was kind of birthed out of a riot. And it worked because Pride is my favorite fucking time of year because I feel like people like listen. A lot, and I wish it lasted longer. I wish Pride was every month, but LA Pride specifically is one of my favoriteest things, and the queer space in California has gone hand in hand with the cannabis space in California, and I find this to be so fucking cool.
This goes way, way back.
This goes back to the early 1900s.
Yes.
It's the Roaring 20s. And in 1922, on December 22nd, a beautiful angel of a human named Mary Jane Rathbun. Now, this is a G right here who just was like, I mean, talk about standing on business. This is a woman who used her voice. She wasn't afraid. And this is in the early 1900s. So she was born in 1922 into a post-war Illinois.
A first war.
Yes. Yes.
Man.
Times
And
were crazy.
it was crazy. There's lived through prohibition,
Ugh.
many prohibitions, and you may know her as Brownie Mary.
Brownie Mary was her street name.
Was her name on the streets of San Francisco.
Frisco. She was always kind of a little rebel, right? She went to Catholic school. She was always kind of. She was always kind of the one who, and I can relate to this, like the one who didn't mean to get in trouble, but just kind of did. You know, she was always just trying to do the right thing, but she probably did it in maybe the wrong time or something. You know, like I would pass notes in class.
She was definitely ahead of her time.
She was. So
And
she was always progressive. Always progressive. Her whole entire life. And she moves to California. She starts to smoke weed.
She starts smoking weed. She starts to have a little. She has a little issue with the family, and she needs to support herself.
Mm-hmm.
Finds a nice side hustle where she's
a waitress.
she's a waitress
At
at
IHOP.
At IHOP.
G status.
Absolutely.
IHOP slaps all day.
IHOP
I wanted to be a waitress at IHOP.
in the 30s, in the 40s.
Oh my God! I forgot we were in the fucking 40s. IHOP in the 40s. Get the fuck out of here.
In San Francisco.
Take me to there. Now listen, things were rough. I don't want to be Taylor Swift about this, but man, does that sound nice. But the IHOP in 1940s just sounds like a place where change can be birthed, and that's because Mary Jane was there.
Brownie Mary immediately took to the counterculture.
Yeah, she was like, I gotta make some monies. The counterculture was smoking weed. She was like, well, tell me how to make like a pretty lit brownie, and she like worked her magic.
She said, hustled, put flyers up around San Francisco, where they could find her magical brownies.
Sold a bunch of brownies. She was, she was out there about it.
Did we mention her activism? Her early activisms? Oh yeah,
Please,
she was an early activist for women's rights, abortion rights, unionization.
Her whole life.
Her whole life.
Yeah, she always had a loud voice, and she used it. She wanted to be heard, and she was always on the side of things that the voices that didn't have loud voices, that didn't have loud advocates. She was always the advocate to the advocateless. So she does her activisms. She starts smoking weed. She starts selling weed, or she starts selling pot brownies.
Yeah, her she comes with a some sort of magical recipe.
Yeah, it's
infuses these brownies, puts up a bulletin board in the neighborhood, and starts slanging those magical, delicious brownies.
Yes.
Throughout the, mostly through the Castro district. If you've ever been to San Francisco,
I have not.
It's lovely.
I hear that. I hear it's really nice.
Eventually, in the 80s,
yes,
Brownie Mary is making so mad brownies in her home,
like
somewhere.
A lot of them.
Like,
yeah,
they reported hundreds a day.
Hundreds a day. Yeah, like 50 dozen is what this article says. 50 dozen is a lot. Yeah,
that is a lot of. That's a lot of bacon.
Hundreds. Yeah, and San Francisco, local legend. People were like, I want them. They're being sold in like supermarkets. Supermarkets where the people were cool. And the police.
That would be so cool, like a co-op in San Francisco. You just go in and get like
a weed brownie in the
brownie.
fucking 80s. Yeah, that'd be lit. Like, I'll take a brownie. It's probably so good. Those brownies were probably so good. So yeah, the police get wind of it, and she gets raided.
Yeah, she gets raided baking brownies, and she has 18 pounds of flour.
18 pounds of flour.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. She's like, thought you guys would never get here. Take me. Arrest me, Russia. So she goes, and she pleads guilty. She has to do community service. She's like, all right, that's cool. I like this shit. Give it to me. Give me all of the community service.
Let me do it.
Let me at him. So she starts working with the Shanty Project. And she works for a support group for people who have HIV/AIDS in the 80s.
Yes, which was a lot of these people were shunned by their families.
Indeed, they were dying alone.
They're dying alone. Their community, the government was just turned a blind eye to it.
It was a really poor time. It was a poor time in history, and so many people died. It's almost unthinkable. What happened during the AIDS crisis. People didn't understand it. It was like a leprosy deal, and there was a select number of people who were willing to walk through that bullshit and take care of sick, dying people who were marginalized by everyone. So that really
kicked off her activism and learning her journey about learning the medicinal value of cannabis.
And her clientele. Her clientele was mostly gay men. So they would come to her sick, and she started to be like, oh shit, I can just give you this and you're going to eat and you're going to feel bad in your pain and you'll laugh. And like, she saw the medicinal benefit through this and started to do that. She started to provide her people, she would call them her kids, with weed. She would give them her brownies. She would like walk up and down with like a bag of brownies.
It's just selling them out of a basket. Brownie Mary.
I love Brownie Mary.
I know. I love her so. I so love her.
So she's walking up and down, and she also gave them to chemo patients. She gave them to people who were ill, and she gets taken to jail because an officer's like, "What you got in the bag?" She's like, "Fucking weed brownies and what of it." So
yeah,
and he's like, off to jail. But I think the DA was like,
yeah, in San Francisco at the time, they were really trying to.
They always are.
Decriminalize cannabis, especially for medicinal uses early on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of activism, like Dennis Perone was there.
Yes. And that's who she eventually teams up with, is Sir Perone. So she volunteers at the AIDS ward. She's in the hospital now. She's really seeing sickness up front. It's the 80s again. It cannot be undersold how bad the AIDS epidemic was. It was bad news bears. She does all these things. She's providing weed to people, and then she hooks up with Perone.
Yeah, they're just they're kicking it in San Francisco, and they spark up a doobie.
Yeah.
And a friendship ensues.
Yeah, hook up friendshiply. I meant like hook up is like.
Well, I don't know.
I didn't mean like scandalously. I meant like hooked up in terms of activism.
Yes, they were.
They linked.
They linked up. They were activating activism together.
Yeah. Yes. They were activating activism together. Two great minds, really pushing forward to find help and relief for sick people.
It was it was underground. They were providing medicine for sick people. Well, it was illegal.
Right. Well, yeah, it was illegal.
And very underground. It was the underground San Francisco. San Francisco's just been doing it for so long.
Yeah. It was like, again, it was illegal, but weed at this time, weed has always been, it's weed. It's like always been around, and it was very around on the West Coast during these times. And clearly during like the mid 1900s, it was just as available as ever. She kind of like hears of Dennis because he was working on the East Coast with the AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, ACT UP. And at the same time, they had noticed that weed was helping with therapy for diseases and sicknesses, and just to get somebody to eat when they're feeling ill is a real win. And it was a push, but Rathbun and Perone both worked together to get Proposition P passed, which is a very pivotal moment for cannabis in the whole country and cannabis in this state.
Yeah, it was. It gave doctors protection to recommend cannabis to their patients in San Francisco. It was very local. It started all of these things are started very local. So Proposition P was the precursor to Prop 215.
Right. And it was like overwhelmingly kind of like supported because it was, you could see the relief because of how many people could testify that it was providing them with relief. So this happens, and even though this happens, she gets arrested again.
That was
poor Mary Jane.
That was like, even though like there's these protections in place, there's still people that want to arrest you.
Well, yeah, you're like on their list now, and it's like, I'm going to read a quote that's on that I got from the internet from her. She says, "My kids need this, and I'm ready to go to jail for my principles. I'm not going to cut any deals with them. If I go to jail, I go to jail."
Yeah. Hardcore.
She ate. And like, no notes. Just angel on earth. She went up for the cause, true, and she was like, "Fucking put me away, bitches." She did not give any fucks. And ultimately, like, the courts were like, yeah, I guess, like, again, like, it's San Francisco. It's clearly helping. It's more about like a power struggle, and like the weed stuff is the stigma that all ties into it.
Always.
It just would never not will.
San Francisco, you get some sympathetic judges, prosecutors, juries, which she just got kind of like a slap on the wrist
all these times. Yeah.
Always.
But she was like willing to like go to bat. She would testify, and she would go up against people and would she would fight for the cause. She wanted to fight for the cause. She was like, why isn't this fucking being used? What are we doing? And it was she for years, really, she went up against the government, and she pushed for cannabis to be more accepted, more studied, more accessible, especially. And she ultimately got Prop P turned into 215, where compassion came in.
The Compassionate Use Act.
Yes.
We loved.
We are big fans of Prop 215. Yes. We were raised under Prop 215, and it is built under compassion. Now that, after the whole 40 minutes that we talked about before, that seems almost foreign in this market. But there used to be a time where weed as medicine was given away, or was given to you at an accessible price.
Very low cost.
Yes.
And absolutely, we gave away so much. People came in once a week. Some people would get half ounces of, we give shake, flour, whatever we could.
Mm. She certainly did make a difference in a lot of areas, in a lot of ways with what she did. August 25th, it's Brownie Mary Day. That's what they declared it. I think in like the San Francisco hospital or something. So on August 25th, we'll have to smoke.
We're gonna have
a joint
to
for her.
we'll make brownies.
Yeah, we'll make brownies. Good idea. I do have that brownie or that weed butter machine that I literally never used. But yeah, she's definitely, she made a big old mark, was a pioneer in a lot of the laws we are grateful for today. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, in the recent one, Governor
Yes.
Gavin Newsom signed
Oh, yeah.
SB
Oh, yeah, yeah.
34, the Dennis Perrone and Brownie Mary Act, to exempt compassionate care programs from paying cannabis taxes in the state of California, which I feel like
Interesting.
more people should actually use this.
Yeah, what is that? Compassionate
You know,
care programs?
there was one company. They were really great. They were a great company. They actually were using this. They were delivering and dispensing compassionate concentrates and vapes to people.
It's just like a company that just like...
It was like you kind of had. It was set up as part of their company. It was like
Interesting.
a more of a charitable part
Right.
of this larger company.
Tax write-off.
Well, if you could give people their cannabis at a reasonable price or free,
I didn't know this
then
was
they
a
would
thing.
get.
That's pretty cool.
It's like a recent history.
That's like a good step, I guess, in the right direction.
Yeah, and it was named after Dennis Perrone and Brownie Mary.
See, that's like still rippling through history. That's wonderful. What a wonderful story. What I see is that we certainly reap the benefits of her existence, and glad she believed in the plant.
People need to know about Brownie Mary.
People do need to know about Brownie Mary, and it is a time of pride, and it's a time to remember what has been done before you, and what has been done to get us to this place. So I think it's quite interesting that both of those things are hand in hand. Weed in the queer space has always been shaking hands.
Yeah, the first dispensaries in Los Angeles were in
Mhm.
West Hollywood. It's always friendly. The
Yes,
super
yes,
the
yes.
super secret
Yeah, I
locations
guess so.
were always
Yeah,
in
totally.
WeHo.
Totally. Oh man, I love WeHo in June. Yeah, it makes sense, and I love it. And if you would like to read up on Brownie Mary more, I'm sure you can. But I think we did a pretty good job talking about her life. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back, and oh God, we're gonna talk about Ron DeSantis. Okay, we'll be right back, and we're back.
And we're back.
That's Yes.
And that's Sasha.
And it's the Cool Nerd Beat Show, and it's the final Huff and Puff, as I'm sure you just heard. And we are going to do a brief Huff and Puff on Ron DeSantis and his things that he does. I don't even know. Okay, so we know that weed is on the ballot this fall.
Yes, in November.
Florida. And we know that abortion rights are also on the ballot this fall. Sort of.
Yes.
Yes, on the ballot this fall.
Yes.
And we know that Ron DeSantis is against these things. Even
Both.
though technically he's like, he owns a bunch of weed land, whatever. We did a whole episode about that. Go listen to our Ron DeSantis Florida episode. But anyways, yes, he doesn't like these things. These two things.
Somehow, some way. So, DeSantis is launching his Florida Freedom Fund.
Oh God.
And because he opposes women's rights and he opposes your right to use cannabis.
And wait.
And apparently he's solicited millions of dollars in donations.
Oh, God.
But who knows? That money comes from all over the place.
The headline is, okay, well, the quote is, I think you're going to see people, you will be able to bring 20 joints into an elementary school. You couldn't even do that, like you can't do that. It's hard to bring weed 20 joints
Well,
into an elementary.
one, it would be like school zones are fucking drug and gun free.
Yes, the signs tell me.
The signs everywhere telling you not to. So don't fucking do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
You're in Florida. You're not supposed to bring your gun in there either. I don't know why he's trying to scare people into. I mean, there's definitely some fear tactic.
Yeah, it's the
So,
children.
What
We got to
about
protect the children from the marijuana and the abortion rights. Fucking marijuana. So yeah, he doesn't like the smell. He really hates the smell of weed. It's all he fucking talks about.
Yeah, every hotel is going to smell like weed in Florida. Hey, let me just say, when I was in Florida, I smelled a lot of weed.
You did?
Not just me.
Well, people like weed.
People love it.
So, well, yeah. So, the Smart and Safe Florida Marijuana Legalization Initiative is what is on the ballot. Go for it. Do your research. There's some pros, there's some cons, but I would like you to have accessible weed in Florida and for Ron DeSantis to cut the crap and to see that legalization is the way to go. And that it's going to be, it's that direction anyway. So,
I mean, DeSantis signed the bill that made flour legal for medicinal purposes.
Yeah. Well,
clown shoes.
Yes, major clown shoes. This is I don't want to go too far into it because, I'll have a seizure. I feel I'll get so mad about both of these things. And, this was a nice, lovely Pride Weed show. I don't want to ruin it with this dumbass. Just informing you of the facts, what he's doing. If you want access to weed, you're going to have to vote on it. So go out and vote.
If you're in Florida, registered to vote, you can vote by mail in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You have that option.
You can do it right now. They'll probably text you about it, or you can do it whenever. It's very easy to do it. It's the only thing that'll fucking work, It's the only thing that'll work. It's the only thing we got left is to go and vote. There's so many big things, important things that are happening this year. So your rights
vote,
to consume, and your rights as your abortion rights are on the line. So get out there, Florida, and everybody. You and me, the whole wide world.
Vote while you still can.
All right, that's it. I don't even know if I'm going to keep this in. We're going to go. This was a great Pride show. Happy Pride to you. We love you. Happy Brownie Mary Day for the future. Thank you, Brownie Mary, and all of the activists. Thank you to California. I wish things were better for you. And go buy our merch. And thank you, Adobe. I love you, Adobe, so much. And
don't panic.
It's organic. Were you not breathing? You're holding your breath.
I was holding it in.
Oh my God.
Just waiting for you.
It's organic. It's organic. It's organic.